heavy volumes, and Shivalik Bimetal is a relatively smaller name which has also piqued our interest. That's where we have seen some buying interest coming through as well, up around 8.5%. And Vodafone Idea, of course, continues to remain in focus for the second straight day for significant advances, as well as big volumes coming through. So we'll be finding out as to what's really happening there as well. And from there on, we start by taking a look at BHEL. Now, that has been a big mover in today's day of trade, and as well as a big mover through the course of the last 12 months. Let's get in my colleague Anushi to give us an update on the latest. Anushi, let's start off with the news. What do you have for us?
Right, so there was this large trade in focus wherein 30.9 lakh shares of 0.1% equity changed hands. This was on the back of the news that BHEL has outbid L&T to win rupees 19,422 crore project from NLC India for building thermal power plant in Odisha. So with this, BHEL has won about order to build 3 ultra supercritical units of 800 megawatts each, in which L&T had not participated in the final bid of in the third bid. So now with this, the company's order book status, if you look at that stands about 1.14 lakh crores. So with this order, it shows about represents about 15 to 16% of order book, showcasing some good medium-term, near-term revenue visibility.
Anushi, but let's put this into context, because we know that BHEL over the past few years has been a chronic underperformer, not only in terms of the share price movement, but also in terms of its financial performance. Can you give us some more updates with respect to this?
Right. So if you look at the BHEL stock performance over the course of the period, while it has more than doubled in the past year itself, if you look at the past 10 to 12 years, it has showcased about like 4 to 6% of growth. This is on the back of the company's book-to-bill ratio, which despite being about 5x in the FY24 itself, the company has maintained its order book also in the 1 lakh crore range, but it is the revenue wherein we are seeing a lack of execution, with the 5-year revenue CAGR growth just being about being negative at 4.1%. So here the question arises on the company's execution of how or of the short cycle versus the long cycle orders which are being placed. Also, if you look at the margins, because of the revenue, the margins are also remained in the low single digit for the last 2 years. But if you look at the latest H1 FY24, the margins also were in the negative zone as well.
Right, so, of course. So these are some of the very many aspects which have, in fact, posed challenges for a lot of investors as well. Anushi, thank you so much for joining us and giving us that update on BHEL. It's been a challenging stock to hold, to say the least, over the past few years. The question is that, have things turned around significantly, and can the recent outperformance perhaps signal improvement going ahead? That's something that that will be answered eventually down the line. But from there onwards, we move on to another stock which has, in fact, been under pressure over the past many years, but it has seen a little bit of resurgence, not just in the past couple of days, but also the past couple of months. And talking about Vodafone Idea, we've seen a little bit of traction coming through, and the past couple of days have, in fact, not only seen an increase in volumes, which have been the highest in the last 2 months, but the stock has also seen a surge. Let's get in my colleague Smriti to give us an idea on what could potentially be playing in favor of Vodafone Idea. Smriti.
Right. Agam, you rightly mentioned that the stock has been on an uptrend. It has gained 30% in the last 1 month and 116% in the last 1 year. And if you look at the reasons, it seems like it's more of a hope rally, because there's no fundamental news or a confirmation or any clarity on the fundraise from the company at this point. Now, if you look at this hope, this definitely comes from the fact that there's an expectation of a fundraise. Now, the company is under a 2 lakh crore, has a debt of over 2 lakh crore. So that becomes a pain point for the company. And other than that, there's a potential benefit of a tariff hike that the telecom companies may go for in the current year, that is 2024. So Vodafone Idea is set to benefit from that tariff hike, which may also be the reason why the stock is on an uptrend. There's also the hope that the government will not let the company die, because time and again the government has reiterated that it will not let a duopoly situation in the telecom sector. So these are a couple of reasons why there might be an uptrend in the stock.
Right, Smriti, you made a very important point there about the duopoly. And speaking of that, we also have government ownership which comes into the picture. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Right. So the government owns 33% stake in the company through DIPAM. Now that means that at some point the company is going to divest its stake. Now this probably will happen when there is going to be an announcement of a fundraise. But if we look at the notional profit of the government bought shares at 10 rupees a share. Currently the shares are touching around 18 rupees. So there's a notional profit of over 12,000 crores for the government itself right now. However, we are yet to see when this fundraise is going to happen, and when the question is around the timing of the divestment, which seems a little far-fetched right now.
Right, fair enough, Smriti. Thank you so much for getting us those updates. Smriti made another important point there, and that is government ownership. And, we're going to have to wait and watch whether or not they do, in fact, intend to, shed off some of their stake there, and if they do, when it is. But NDTV Profit also spoke to Ashwini Vaishnav, and this is what he had to say about the sector in general overall. Listen in.
इतना क्लियर है कि आज टेलीकॉम सेक्टर में जो अनसर्टेनिटीज़ थी, एजीआर की डेफिनेशन क्या है, स्पेक्ट्रम के यूसेज में क्या होना चाहिए, करीब 99% अनसर्टेनिटीज़ ख़त्म हो चुकी है. आज इन्वेस्टर्स टेलीकॉम सेक्टर की तरफ एक नए नज़रिए से देख रहे हैं. इस टेलीकॉम एक्ट के बाद में जो रही सही अनसर्टेनिटीज़ थी वो भी ख़त्म हो गई है.
Sir, but to come back to the point of Vodafone Idea.
देखो वो उनके शेयर उनके मैनेजमेंट से पूछो.
Let me ask
it's a listed company. I don't want to comment on it.
So just the simple point, just if I may, the government has stepped in and saved this company.
We have done whatever is supposed to be done. I don't want to comment on companies which are listed. सबके शेयर मार्केट के में prices होते हैं. I don't want to comment on any such. Whether it's a railway company or telecom company or electronics company, anything. I just don't want to comment on any listed company.
Okay. No, I want to understand because there are concerns about a duopoly forming in the country.
अब नहीं concerns.
Okay.
अभी तो telecom sector is looking like a fresh investment cycle has already started in telecom sector.
And on that note, we slip into a short break, but on the other side, we talk about a lot more in terms of stocks. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit. Welcome back. This is Last Trades on NDTV Profit, and we now take stock of Shivalik Bimetal, which is another small cap stock which is in focus. We've seen a surge in volumes as well as what seems like a breakout of a tight range that within which it has been trading over the past few weeks and months. Let's get in Varsha to give us first an update on what's happened today. Varsha.
Trade today in last 5 months, which is highest in last 5 months, followed by intraday volumes of over 12x in last 5 months. Now, let's look at what does this company do. So the company joins metals to form bimetals. Now, also this makes critical components which are used in your smart meters, then in your EVs and your switch gears. Also, if you see, this company is a proxy play to EVs and electronic appliances and energy meters. Now, if you see, one of the key products, shunt resistors, is actually used more in EVs than in normal cars. So as more countries adopt the EVs, so the demand for the shunt resistors is going to increase in future, because this is a critical component when it comes to EV powertrain. So yeah, this is the background that we have got.
So Varsha, can you also talk us through the kind of institutional activity that we have seen in the company? A little bit about a background of the company itself as to what it used to do and what it is doing now, and what can we expect going forward considering the kind of investments that it has earmarked for.
So, Agam company used to make CRT tubes for flat TVs. Now, we all know what happened with flat TVs. They got replaced by LEDs. And due to this, if you see, their revenue got impacted. But from 2017, they introduced their new product, that is shunt resistors, due to which the revenue in 2017, they got growth in their revenues from 117 crores to 420 crores in FY23. Also, if you see, there's been interest of a lot of institutional investors in this company. So, FIIs, which had almost 0.5% stake in June 23, as on September 23, their stake has been increased to almost 4%. Also, DIIs have almost 1.5% stake in this company as on September 23. Now, if one has to look at the outlook, like what we can expect going ahead, so company has been giving guidance of increase in revenue by 4x in next 5 to 6 years. Also, it expects 1600 crores of revenue on a base of 108 crores of fixed assets. So this is huge, and also this uptick in revenue is going to be with very minimum capex. So this is really interesting thing about this company.
Right. Varsha, thank you so much for getting us those insights into Shivalik Bimetals. Indeed, some very interesting, data coming through as far as this particular company is concerned, specifically with respect to its revenue targets, as well as the kind of institutional buying that the company has seen, that is from FIIs as well as DIIs, that increase that we've seen over the course of June and September. We will have to wait and watch whether or not this number has changed substantially in the month of December as well. That's something that we will know eventually down the line. But that's as far as Shivalik Bimetals is concerned. Up and about nearly 9% for now, and on good volumes too. And from there on, we move on to JBM Auto. That's the final stock that we want to address as far as large trades are concerned, and that is also, moving from strength to strength today, up around 12% as we speak, over about, there you have it, about 172 points gain coming through in today's day of trade. Let's get in Hemansh to give us an idea on this one. Hemansh.
Hey, thanks, Agam. JBM Auto, it's currently up 12%, like you said. It's trading close to its day's high after it surged nearly 14%. And this comes in right after the price band for the company was revised, which came in effect today, from 5% to 20%. So it's essentially just the brakes coming off from Friday's move that saw a lot of excitement coming in towards the EV players once reports suggested that the government is planning to switch about 8 lakh diesel buses to EV, and this encompasses various use cases across the board. You have a replacement plan comprising of 2 lakh electric buses for state transport, 5.5 lakhs for private operators that are going to be shifting to AV, and the remaining 50,000 buses are the ones that are being used by schools as well as for employee transport that are going to be covered in this scheme. Now, JBM Auto's EV goals are pretty comprehensive, in the sense you have 2,000 electric buses that are set to be delivered this fiscal, the remaining 3,000 that are going to be coming up next. You're also seeing the company sees a pipeline of 5,000 to 6,000 in the coming next 2 months itself. And in terms of segment revenue, you're seeing an incremental revenue addition that's coming in from the bus division. At this point, it contributes to roughly about 35% odd to their top line as of the last quarter. And in terms of the stock, I mean, JBM Auto has gained 3x over its past year. So quite a lot of excitement, and it's buzzing on volumes as well, 15 times their 30-day averages.
Yeah, excitement to say the least. That could be an understatement, at least today's. Himash, thank you so much for getting us those updates on JBM Auto. And of course, this JBM Auto has also been one of the biggest movers in 2023 in the broader market, so to speak, largely on the EV theme. But from there on, we move on to the updates coming on tsunami in Japan. Wajima Ishikawa Prefecture, to be precise, has observed a tsunami of more than 1.2 meters at 4:21 p.m. local time. And this is following a major earthquake. Several other regions of Japan as well have reported a tsunami. Let's go across to Alex, who's been tracking the story closely, to give us an update on this one. Alex, what do you have for us?
Well, Agam, we've been tracking things from here. In fact, we've been depending on local news updates from Japan. But for people who are tuning in for the first time, some of those visuals on the screen are when the earthquake actually struck a little after 4 p.m. local time, which is close to 2 hours before now, was when the earthquake of about 7.5 on the Richter scale hit Ishikawa Prefecture, which, if our viewers want to get a sense of the geography of Japan, is on the western coast of Japan and facing the Sea of Japan. It is more or less in the middle of that coastline. Now, immediately after an earthquake strikes in Japan, what normally happens is a tsunami warning, because that is, in fact, an earthquake and tsunami-prone region. And that was indeed the case. 5 prefectures got that warning. Among them, you had Niigata, as well as Toyama, Yamagata, Fukui, and Hyogo in Japan. And as you mentioned at the start, there are a few regions that, in fact, did experience the tsunami. Now, what normally happens, if you aren't aware, is that when an earthquake strikes, usually in the hours that follow, in the 6 hours that follow, there is a fear of tsunami that can hit the coastline, not just in that region, but also in several coastlines around the region. So there were, in fact, fears of tsunamis in other regions as well. We do not have updates on that just yet. What we do know is that some regions in Japan have been impacted. Now, you will also remember that the major damage from a tsunami in the past has taken place on the other coast of Japan, on which Tokyo is located, as well as Fukushima is located. You will remember the nuclear crisis that occurred in the aftermath of that tsunami, where there was a leakage of the reactor, and the treated water, in fact, was held in abeyance for a long time. It was, in fact, only recently released into the ocean, much to the discomfort of several other countries around that region, including China. Now, we have apparently gotten information from the local news agencies that the authorities in charge of the nuclear stations there have reported no irregularities as things stand right now. The people have been asked to vacate the region and to evacuate the region. Usually what happens is that when there's a tsunami notice, people are asked to leave the low-lying areas near the coast and move to higher areas, as there is an expectation, as you were pointing out, 1.2 meters going all the way up to 5 meters as well is the height of the waves that can hit. Now, the key area, the Ishikawa region or the Ishikawa prefecture, it has been reported that it is not a very deep region where the earthquake occurred. So perhaps to a certain extent, the fear of a major tsunami was mitigated to a certain extent. Of course, we'll know the full effect and the full implication of that earthquake in just a short while. There is also a fear, by the way, of additional quakes following the original quake of 7.5 on the Richter scale, and there is the possibility, Agam, that we could see an earthquake of as much as 7 going forward as well. So live updates that are coming in from Japan that we're tracking as we speak to our viewers.
Right, Alex, thank you so much for getting us those updates as to what's happening in Japan at the moment. And we'll continue to give you more as soon as we get a lot. But that said, a very quick look at the markets for now. We are looking at some more advances as far as the broader markets go, with the small cap index advancing by around nearly 1%. It's currently trading at day's highs, and we are looking at more gains in likes of GSFC. Let's pull that one up. That's up around nearly 16% now. And, well, it's actually seen strong volumes there as well. JBM Auto is something that we spoke about, up around 12%. Castrol India is the other one, which is also up and about. Castrol has also been relatively lackluster with respect to the rest of the markets, but today it does see a lot more in terms of advances, especially on the back of volumes. That's what we have in terms of the markets, specifically the broader markets, and of course the advance decline ratio continues to remain positive. And on that note, it's a wrap on large trades, but there's lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit.